In the 4 decades since I was first elected a state legislator, I've come to know thousands of public officials. 2 of those that I most respect are standing up here with us today. Jerry Abramson and Crit Luallen are true public servants in every sense of that cliched phrase. That is to say, if you live or work in Kentucky, your life is better because they have committed themselves to making it better. They are friends of Kentucky, and they're personal friends of mine. That's why I am proud and excited to make a historic announcement whose effect is to empower each one of them to serve Kentucky in even higher capacities. At 5 p.m. next Thursday, November 13, Jerry Abramson is stepping down as Lieutenant Governor. He is accepting a presidential appointment and moving to the West Wing of the White House, where he will serve as Deputy Assistant to the President and Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. On that same day, I'm appointing Crit Luallen, Kentucky's former State Auditor of Public Accounts and a longtime gubernatorial advisor, as Lieutenant Governor for the remaining year or so of my term. In ways big and small, these appointments will bring tangible benefit to the nation, to Kentucky, and to the lives of its people. Back when I selected Jerry Abramson as my running mate, I cited his enthusiasm, his passion, his integrity, and his intellect. Given his 3 decades of progressive leadership in Louisville, the nation's 28th largest city, we vowed that he would become one of the most active lieutenant governors in Kentucky history. Well, he has fulfilled that promise. Those who know Jerry know that he isn't happy unless he's immersed in serious policy issues. And so I made him the point person for a number of major initiatives designed to strengthen Kentucky. As chairman of my Blue Ribbon Commission on Tax Reform, he led a year-long analysis that exposed structural weaknesses in our outdated tax system and then wrote a plan to fix those weaknesses. He also is chair of the Kentucky Health Now initiative, a transformative effort to attack one of Kentucky's biggest problems, the horrible collective health of our people. He's launched a statewide version of Close the Deal, a program he created while mayor that is greatly increasing the number of high school students who go on to college. And he's traveled around this country to market Kentucky to site consultants, bringing jobs and investment to the bluegrass. Meanwhile, he's tirelessly traveled this state, giving more than 400 speeches to education, civic, and leadership groups. Jerry knows the challenges confronting state, county, and city governments better than almost anybody. So it's no surprise that President Obama and his advisors recognized that expertise and stole him away from me. Well, they are fortunate to have him. I am confident that he will continue to make Kentucky proud in his career, and we look forward to working with him as a friend and ally in Washington. We also look forward to continuing to tap the many talents of his wife, Madeline. She has been an active partner in service as chairwoman of the Kentucky Commission on Women, the Red Cross Regional Volunteer Services Advisory Committee, and the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts, among other things. Madeline, thank you. Now, as for Crit Luallen, back when I selected Jerry as my running mate, I said that my search began and ended with one person. I repeat that thought today. My search for a new lieutenant governor began and ended with Crit Luallen. I wanted someone immensely credible, and I needed someone capable of being not just lieutenant governor, but being governor. Crit Luallen is that person. In 2 terms as state auditor, Crit was a relentless advocate of ethical and efficient government. Like me, she believes that the public's trust and the public's money are sacred investments that demand a high return. She's also worked with 6 governors, serving in the highest of roles, like State Budget Director, Secretary of the Governor's Executive Cabinet, and Secretary of individual cabinets. You can see her steady hand and vision in major initiatives that have improved this Commonwealth, from the creation of the Kentucky Community and Technical College System, to developing the Agricultural Development Board that allocates tobacco settlement funds, to setting up the Metropolitan College that was key to the UPS expansion. There are few issues in which she is not well versed, and few challenges that she has not had to address. In this era of cynicism and scorn, her motivation to some people seems almost quaint. Crit believes with all her heart that public service is an honorable calling, and she's determined to use government to help people. She will be a strong fighter for this administration's priorities. Next Thursday, she will be sworn in as Lieutenant Governor in a private ceremony, with a public ceremony to be held at 2:30 the following day, Friday, November 14th. I look forward to working more closely with both her and Jerry Abramson in their new positions to continue my vision of creating a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant Kentucky. In closing, let me say this. Some governors coast in their last year in office, but my second in command will soon be a West Wing advisor whose office is literally directly above the President of the United States office. And that advisor's replacement will be one of Kentucky's most venerated public officials of all time. With these appointments, I am serving notice, a very strong notice, and sending a very strong message to the people of the Commonwealth that I intend to continue to use every second of my time as governor to energize and elevate this state. We have given our people access to health care in unprecedented numbers. We're leading the nation in education reform, and we've officially dug our economy out of the recession with record decreases in unemployment and record increases in exports and investment. By working in this nonpartisan manner, we are moving Kentucky away from its lethargic past and into a dynamic future. And we're not finished yet. Thank you very much. And now let me call upon the current Lieutenant Governor, Jerry Abramson.
Thank you very much, Governor. I am truly excited about the opportunity with this new role as Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States and Director of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. I'm excited about the opportunities that it gives me to be able to interact with state and local officials throughout the United States. President Obama has asked me to join the senior staff of his White House at this point with a role focusing on the domestic agenda, focusing on issues like public transportation and job training, issues like health care and infrastructure investment, issues like minimum wage and affordable housing. Drawing on my background of experience as a mayor for 13 years of a city, a mayor of a city county for 8 years, and the outstanding opportunities I've had with Governor Beshear for 3 years as lieutenant governor, I'll be the liaison between the White House and the mayors, the city councils, the county executives, the magistrates, the governors, lieutenant governors, and state legislators throughout the United States, working on the issues that are so important to this president and to this country in terms of the domestic agenda. The position is exciting, but let me just stop for a moment and say it has been an exciting opportunity to work with Steve Beshear and the team that he has around him here in the governor's office. Madeline and I consider Jane and Steve to be our friends for over 30 years as we walked into office, joining them 3 years ago. And we're walking out of office here in Frankfort, not only considering them as friends, but as even closer friends as a result of the 3 years' experience. This governor has given me an opportunity to be at his side and to work through the issues that, as he said, and I truly believe, have transformed the Commonwealth of Kentucky. From his commitment in the area of health care, certainly with Connect and over 530,000 people now having health insurance for their families, working with him in terms of economic development. When the governor says we are back from the recession and have literally caught up to where we were and then surpassed it, he's exactly right. It's given me an opportunity to work with a progressive leader who focused on education and even in difficult times understood the importance of ensuring that our K through 12 and community college and universities were successful. It was a pleasure to work as chairman of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. The legislature and the governor working together, used some of the recommendations to ensure that the pension issue was moving toward resolution, and I'm hopeful that come January, the remaining recommendations will have an opportunity to be reviewed. I also want to take a moment and thank some of the state agencies and cabinets that I worked with and who really gave me and my office an opportunity to make a difference for families in Kentucky. I want to start with the Kentucky Department of Education. Jane Beshear, the First Lady, has had for 7 years the focus on education and the importance of ensuring that our kids understand continuing their education is so very, very important. Well, I was fortunate to have Commissioner Terry Holliday and Carl Rollins over at Kia, who joined with me to take that a step further in our Close the Deal program and to give young people in high schools all over Kentucky the chance to be a part of the Close the Deal and engage them with financial support, to access financial support and ultimately go on to college. And to give you examples, I was looking back over the 11 or 12 schools that we've been to, because we've been to 3 or 4 every week in October for the last 3 years. We went to Covington Homes in northern Kentucky, and literally we were able to double the number of seniors that applied and got in and went to college as a result of the Close the Deal program. We went to Logan County and literally got to the point where we increased the rate of college career readiness to 100% of the kids in Logan County. We went from Louisa and Lawrence County all the way out to Livingston just last week in the far western part, working with young people, getting them to fill out their FAFSA forms for financial aid and getting them to understand the importance of continuing their education. So I thank the Department of Education for their support. I thank Dr. McCall at the community college system. We thought it was important to engage with parents to understand that their children should look at the opportunities available at for careers at the community college. We set up a program called Career Craze, which was a 3-4 week summer program at each one of the community colleges, and where I tried to make as many as possible to meet with the parents at the end of Career Craze and talk to these 8th and 9th grade parents of 8th and 9th graders, to let them clearly understand the careers that were available through community colleges and the opportunities with associate degrees as well as certificates. I want to thank the National Guard and General Tonini. I saw him as I walked in. I was here with the governor when we were so involved with the EF2 tornadoes back in 2012. And getting on those Blackhawks and going to Laurel County and going to Lawrence County really gave me an opportunity to see the men and women in the National Guard and what they mean for those Kentuckians who are going through real difficulties. And I want to thank the economic development folks. Hal Good and United Kentucky, which is made up of all the economic development directors of cities and counties throughout the state. They've allowed me to travel with them to Atlanta, to New York, to Boston, to Chicago, to Denver, to Dallas, to talk about Kentucky with business relocation consultants, and to give those consultants a reason to put Kentucky in their rotation when they're working with a client that wants to relocate. And Larry Hayes, working with the economic development efforts that he and the governor have been so successful at. And finally, working with the Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Mayfield, with Kentucky Health Now. That's a tremendous department. Audrey does a great job. She has been a wonderful, wonderful leader, and Dr. Mayfield and the commitment of her staff for taking Kentucky's families forward in a healthier way has been a tremendous part of our success. So those collaborations working with me really gave me an opportunity to live up to what we said at the inaugural, which was I had planned to be the most active lieutenant governor in many, 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 many years. And I think I have been able to do just that. So speaking of families and what we've been able to do for the families, I certainly want to thank Madeline and our son Sidney for their support in helping me make this decision. It's not easy to pick up and leave the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Frankfort, my hometown, to be able to then turn around and show up one day walking up toward the West Wing in my office. But Madeline was there supporting it, as was our son Sidney, and it gave me confidence that we could make this jump in this next chapter in our lives. It's definitely a new adventure with a new role and a real opportunity, I'm hopeful, of helping not only the governor and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but all the people in Kentucky and throughout this country. I truly believe I can add value on a national basis, and I look forward to working with the president, the mayors, the county executives, as well as the governors and lieutenant governors around America on the domestic agenda that can keep this country strong from within. Thank you so much, and Governor, thank you for your leadership and your friendship and your guidance and the team that we were able to work on with you and Jane. Thanks so much.
And now let's hear from the next Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as of next Thursday afternoon, Crit Luallen.
Thank you very much, Governor, and thank all of you who are here. I see some old friends who heard about it last minute this morning and have come down. We really appreciate that. I am deeply honored to be given this opportunity by Governor Beshear, and I offer my congratulations to Lieutenant Governor Abramson for his new opportunity to continue his remarkable career in public service in Washington. His appointment is a plus for Kentucky, for the White House, and for the nation. I want to acknowledge my husband, Lynn, my best friend and supporter for 34 years, who's been behind me and beside me every step of the way throughout my public career and in our personal lives. This is truly a special day for us because we have known the Governor and First Lady for many years, and we have a deep personal respect for both of them. I've said publicly many times that this governor has led the state through the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression with a firm and steady hand. And now, because of that leadership, Kentucky has emerged on the other side of that crisis, poised for progress. I have watched as Governor Beshear has worked his way through record budget cuts and downsized government while continuing to place a priority on education and job creation. But I believe his greatest legacy will be a healthier Kentucky. He has shown remarkable leadership as he has expanded children's health insurance, moved Medicaid to managed care, and drawn national acclaim for his implementation of the Affordable Care Act, providing health care to over 500,000 Kentuckians through Connect. I look forward to chairing Kentucky Health Now, which the Lieutenant Governor has chaired. The governor's initiative with specific goals for improving over the long term Kentucky's dismal health care statistics. And I hope to be able to help him in other ways as well on policy and budget matters as he needs my assistance. This decision was an easy one for me because in every aspect of his leadership responsibilities, Governor Beshear has led with integrity, always making his decisions based on what he believed was right for the people he serves. It is a high honor to stand here today in partnership with this governor. My life to date has been an interesting journey where doors of opportunity have opened for me in fortunate and sometimes surprising ways. I see this step as yet another opportunity, one where I can continue to serve Kentucky and offer my experience and perspective to Governor Beshear and the fine team that he has assembled. It will be my personal goal to help the governor end his term in office with the state in as strong a position as possible to take advantage of the opportunities that the future presents. Thank you very much, and thank you, Governor.
I'm sure there are no questions, so we'll open it up for questions.
Governor, when did you first learn, or when did it come on your radar that any governor had this opportunity, maybe leaving, wanting to leave the administration?
Yeah. You know, I was contacted about 2 months ago, I guess, by one of the leaders inside the White House saying that this position was going to be open and asking if I would have an interest in at least talking about it. You know, I have a job, and I wasn't looking for a job, but as they began to talk about the opportunities, and as I remembered, I mean, don't forget, I was mayor for over 2 decades, and so I go back with the person who's held this position all the way back to Ronald Reagan. And I know the opportunities that existed, so I told them I would come to the White House and visit with them and listen. I went up to the White House, spent a day with the Chief of Staff, Dennis McDonough, and Valerie Jarrett. I met with several of the folks within the team, and at the end of the day, went home thinking that maybe there was a chance that I could add value for the mayors, county officials, and governors around the country through this position. Madeline and I and Sydney talked a lot about it, the pros, the cons. Obviously, we have an apartment now in Washington ready to go. Madeline's going to stay here with all her civic and community activities. So she'll be traveling up to visit. I'll be coming home to visit. So it's a real change. And we finally decided that when the President of the United States asks you to join him in an area of government that you know a great deal about, I mean, you know, over 2 decades in local government, now 2 years up here with Governor Brown as general counsel, 3 years up here as lieutenant governor. I really felt I had some experience and background that I could add value. And finally, they called and made a request of me as to whether I would take the position. I discussed it with the governor, and you know, I guess, I don't know, maybe a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. The question always is, well, why did it take so long to go public? And the answer is, from the White House's perspective, they have their own process of what they have to do and how they have to do background checks, and what I've, you know, all the way back to where I went to elementary school, and who did I know, and, you know, what did I do, and what instrument did I play in the band. And so by the time that was over, we finally got to the position where we are today.
Is this a new position? Or?
No. No, it is not a new position. There have been among Republican and Democratic presidents the office of intergovernmental affairs. This president took that position and took it up to the deputy assistant to the president and director of intergovernmental affairs. I report directly to Valerie Jarrett and have the opportunity to be engaged with her on all the domestic issue side of the House. And that's why the governor jokingly said the office is in the West Wing, and it is very close to being right over the Oval Office.
Governor, given the meeting that the Obama administration and the president himself took during the recent Senate campaign, does your appointment serve as a counterbalance and sort of an affirmation of the president by Kentucky and by this administration?
No, I don't think that was certainly never brought up or discussed with me. I mean, what was discussed with me is we have a lot of mayors and a lot of county officials and a lot of governors and lieutenant governors who want to join with the White House on the domestic agenda. For example, yesterday, 2 days ago in the election, I think 5 states dealt with the issue of minimum wage in terms of increasing it. All 5 voted in favor of increasing minimum wage. So working with cities and counties and states on issues like minimum wage, affordable housing, public transportation, education, early childhood education, the kinds of things that you hear on the domestic side is the agenda of the White House. I've got the background and experience, and I never heard anything about balance or anything of that nature.
And on behalf of the Beshear administration, as you know, over the last several years, we have worked with this federal administration on a number of issues. We've also disagreed with this federal administration on a number of issues. And so where we've agreed, we've worked together. Where we've disagreed, we fought and continue to fight. I'm just thrilled and excited that we're going to have a Kentuckian in the West Wing of the White House that's going to have Kentucky's best interest at heart. And it gives us an entree into the executive branch of the federal government that's going to be very valuable to us over the next 2 years.
On what issue, Governor? What would you hope the number one thing that Lieutenant Governor Abramson can do in that position? Is there an EPA perhaps?
There's any number of issues that he will be dealing with and that he also will serve as a conduit on. We are constantly working to get more federal money for areas like early childhood education. All of those kinds of things that we've been working on now for the last 7 years, this opens up a pathway for us that we haven't had before. So there isn't anything in particular, but there's a lot of things in general that we're going to be asking this federal administration for, and I'm glad to have somebody there that we can directly talk to and make sure that we're heard.
Lieutenant Governor, did the president's unpopularity, especially in Kentucky, weigh at all in your decision to serve him?
You know, we have one president of the United States, and on his agenda is the betterment of the United States of America. His focus and everything he says about expanding the middle class, providing educational opportunities, creating jobs, developing expanded transportation, affordable housing, infrastructure investment, not only in terms of roads and bridges, which we need, but also airports and rail, et cetera. All of those are issues that are so very important for the future of this country. So, you know, whether he's up in the polls or down in the polls, he's still the President of the United States, will be for the next 2+ years. And when he asks you to join his team, it's pretty hard to say no. And it was very easy for me to say yes.
Would your office deal at all with EPA regulations in states like Kentucky?
You know, I don't think so. I'm not aware of that being a part of my portfolio. But, you know, I don't want to exclude it. You know, as I told the governor, I mean, I go up there, and as of the day I start work on the 17th of November, I have 50 states I have to respond to, a gazillion county executives, even more so mayors. But the one thing I can assure him is that all calls will be returned immediately and with receptive ears.
We have to ask, have you reconsidered running for governor?
Yes, I'm announcing today. No, I have, I've made it.
Boy, there went the tweets.
Sorry, Jack. No, seriously, Jack, I've made my intentions clear. I announced in May that I'm not running for governor in 2015. I have no plans to run for office next year.
Do you think your position in the state here will affect the governor's race at all?
Well, I have endorsed Jack Conway personally in the governor's race, but the governor and I have discussed the fact that as head of the party in the state, the governor will not be involved in a Democratic primary if there is a Democratic primary, nor will I. But we expect to both be very involved once that Democratic nominee is chosen in helping to elect a Democrat to the governor's office next fall.
You mentioned the things that you want to do similarly as the outgoing lieutenant governor. Are there any initiatives or anything you want to be able to make the job different? Anything on that from your point?
You know, I think at this stage in the governor's administration, what he's looking for is someone who has the kind of background experience I have to be able to step in and provide support in any area he needs it. And that, I would assume, will range from budget discussions as he's dealing with the difficult budget climate to all the various policy initiatives. I think he's at a stage in this administration where all the major initiatives are underway and moving forward. It'll be my job to help him in as strong a position as possible. I don't imagine that I would be taking on any new separate initiatives other than just supporting him in every way that I can.
And if you could, maybe just describe how the phone call or whatever the transaction was with the governor. When did you find out about this opening, and did you readily accept?
The governor contacted me and asked me to come meet with him on the 15th, I believe, so it's been about 2 weeks. And we sat down together, and he laid out the opportunity, and it took me about 30 seconds to say yes, because I see this as a great way for me to continue to serve Kentucky. I have great respect, as I've said, for the governor and the First Lady and for the leadership he has shown, and I hope to be able to continue to contribute in a meaningful way in this position.
Anybody else?
I guess, Lieutenant Governor Abramson, your staff here, do you know what's going to happen?
Well, you know, it's up to the incoming lieutenant governor, and she'll be meeting with some of, there's only two, one's going to retire. And so she'll be meeting with them, and it'll be her decision to make.
If I could, sir, to follow up, this position is political appointee, right? So this is something that would end with the Obama administration?
That is correct.
So then,
So you have 2 years and 3 months or something.
so then Senate running for you after that, or what?
I beg your pardon?
Senate running for you after that, then? What are your plans?
You know, I'm like Crit. You like to serve, and it seems that when a door closes, a door opens, and who knows what might happen in the future. But right now, this is the next chapter, and we'll see what comes after that.
You mentioned this before, but talk about the difficulty of this decision. You know, you are identified with Louisville and now Kentucky. How tough was this?
Well, it was a difficult decision. It was a difficult decision in terms of leaving my hometown and leaving the Commonwealth and leaving Steve and Jane Beshear in terms of the joy that we have had in working with them both. It was also difficult in thinking about, it's like I'm going away to college again. I've got to write my name in my shirts, and because I've got an apartment with a washer and dryer, and now I got to remember darks and lights and, you know, all those kinds of things that we've done together, but sort of. But so it really, I mean, it's a big decision to all of a sudden pick up and move, and that you wouldn't believe what an apartment costs in Washington. Let me just say, twice as much as our mortgage. And so it's a real sacrifice. Having said that, he's the President of the United States. And with an offer to be at the policy table on domestic issues with the President of the United States, Madeline turned to me and she said, "We've got to do this." And Sidney said, "I'm all in." And then Sidney said, "Do I get to play basketball on the basketball court at the White House?" So we're working through it. We're working through it.
Anybody else? Thank you all very much.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Good luck. Enjoy the help.